starting with the webinar. Hello and welcome everyone to the today's session. This is the third consecutive session in the ongoing webinar series with the theme Feminism, a Misunderstood Concept, organized by Honor of Women in association with Her World. The topic of the today's session is Shadow Pandemic and What Else. And today we have with us two very special guests. I would like to introduce our first guest speaker, Mrs. Ekta Vivek Verma, who have experience of more than 25 years in different sectors. She's a social entrepreneur and the founder of support group for the women in domestic abuse situation called Invisible Scars. She is also core member of Poon Viram, an initiative for zero tolerance against rape. She has done multiple awareness programs at different platforms for the people in distress. She is project coordinator at Samvad Advocacy. Mrs. Ekta is an executive member of the Society for Cyberabad Security Council due to her active role in the space of domestic abuse and sexual harassment at workplace. She is an external member in internal complaint committee for many companies. She is an active volunteer of Society for Advancement of Human Endeavor, which is working in the space of water, education, healthcare, and technology. She is the core member of TEDx Hyderabad team. She has been the host of TEDx Hyderabad Women event for the past 4 years. Welcome, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce our second guest speaker, Sir leaders. She and we organization which works for the women who function survey service not exam including me. And during that period of preparation, she found her way and she NGOs. In the course of the time, survey found that women in broken marriage were almost on the verge of suicide, and survey emerged as a dependable face for young girls and women across the villages. Ms. Mandadi is a person who strongly believes women empowerment, and therefore she started conducting confidence building workshops for women as she feels that ensuring employment for them is the best solution to empower women, and she started organizing training programs on handicrafts and beautician courses. In 2018, survey identified the most backward villages in the Telangana and started an extensive tour across 31 districts in 31 days. She self-financed the fee for her tour by selling an expensive belonging of her and borrowing a little from her father. She faced many challenges throughout her journey, and she met many young and old women throughout her journey who were, broken marriages, surviving on the hope of a miracle. Her only goal is to reach out to the women who are in the need of help and sensitize youngsters about their responsibility towards the society. So I welcome both of our speakers. Today's session will be moderated by Ms. Rashmi Yadav. So over to you, Rashmi.
Thank you, Vijay. Now I would like to start this session by asking my first question to you, Ekta ma'am. Shall we start?
Yes, please.
My first question to you is, did movement restrictions aimed to stop the spread of COVID-19, making violence in homes more frequent and more severe?
Okay, so I'll first start by saying hi to everyone and thank you for having me on board. Now I quickly move to the question. I don't want to waste too much time on niceties. Abuse has existed in households for a very, very long time. Now what has happened is when the lockdown happened and people stopped to go out of their homes. So the abuser and the survivor was spending more time together in a closed space. So definitely the number of incidents of abuse have gone up. The abuse would have existed in that household. That's what we need to understand also. Is you cannot attribute abuse to the fact that, suddenly because of the lockdown, the abuse started. It was already there, it was existing, but when these two people came together in a closed space and were stuck together for a very long time, you're stuck for 12 hours, neither are you moving out, nor is your abuser moving out. And so being in such a closed space resulted in the abuse becoming worse. To top it all, there was a lot of incidents of stress, such as not having access to not being able to see, a lot of stress, not having jobs going away. Yeah, for the first few days, there was a lot of anxiety related to what will happen to COVID-19 victims and things like that. So it's a combined problem that has happened. And yes, it was something unanticipated, and everyone was taken by surprise.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to take this forward by asking a question to Shravya, ma'am. Do you think that encountering domestic violence leads to hostility in marriage? Would you like to give an instance?
Yeah, see, actually, first of all, good evening, very good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I feel immensely honored, to share this space with Ekta ji, who's been immensely very sensitive and who has always been very, very vocal about women rights. And yeah, this was something which was not expected by anyone. The world is busy about thinking about the COVID-19 pandemic, which actually threatens the lives. And second thing, all the economists are pretty busy in how to draft and in context to curb the pandemic, which is the economic slowdown. But the most neglected and the unaddressed pandemic is the third pandemic, according to my personal observation, which is the violence against a woman. And definitely in marriage also, what happens is like, especially since I work on ground and especially with the rural women in the country, what happens is they don't have access either to report to someone, and even today also, though we talk a lot about Swachh Bharat or other initiatives also, what happens even today in certain villages, women go out for open defecation. Even there some violence actually happens. So when it comes to domestic violence, I want to narrate a small incident. The very first call which I have received during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was this woman. I just got a call somewhere around 11 a.m. and she told me, "Madam, I'm calling from a Kirana store because my husband took away my cell phone and I don't have access to other phones in the house. And even if I borrow it from someone, there is a chance that my husband might hear my conversation and he could torture me further." So then she said she's badly in need of help. So I had to connect her to the local police. And there are many reasons when it comes to marriage. There were incidents where I have got calls even from the parental homes. I mean, women are threatened by their stepmothers, even by their siblings also. I think it's high time this issue need to be addressed. And one of the major reasons is that men have become jobless, and most of them are into jobs like they've been working in factories and as well as daily wage laborers. So they're not much educated and they're addicted to alcohol. And every time anything happens, be it elite class or be it middle class or be it poor people, always people find that, I mean, men find a woman is easily available to vent out their anger or frustration. And I think alcoholism is being
all. It is called Kanyadan, which we do at Indian weddings. And literally, it means donating your daughter. So, when you are donating your daughter, what are you expecting that who are the people who are going to take a donated girl? How are they going to treat her? And so, I think the first thing we need to do is, of course, work on conditioning. Not every girl needs to get married. There is no compulsion that a woman's life is fulfilled. What happens to those women who have a different sexuality or want to educate themselves and want to stay single? So many people are doing it out of choice now. So we no longer live in a world where choices are restricted and information is restricted. And the mindset of the society is not growing at the same speed at which people are evolving. So unfortunately, my experience of working in this space comes from the fact that I am from a background. I am actually the black sheep of my family. Completely disowned. Everyone thinks I am very aggressive and very loud, and I have too much of an opinion about everything. A lot of my family members don't even understand the work that I do. It is so normalized in their discussions. that they couldn't care, you know. I remember some relatives saying we have a support group on Facebook where women and girls are part of the support group. Of course, it's a women only support group. And so I heard one of my relatives say, अरे इनका ग्रुप है, ये लोग सास ससुर की बुराई करते हैं वो ग्रुप पे. So they did not understand the significance of what the group was trying to achieve. My corporate experience has, I don't think, helped me, but yes, it has definitely told me where I don't want to go. And because of the corporate sector, I also realized that abuse sometimes is worse for people who are educated, because when you're educated, you're sitting on a pedestal, you have a good job, you have a good family, you're expected to be a success. And if there is something that takes away that success, like a bad marriage or not being compatible with your spouse, so whether it's for a man or whether it's for a woman, there is a lot of silent suffering. So the whole point of Invisible Scars was that all this silent suffering which is happening, to people who are working, educated, well placed, intelligent women, we should create a safe space where everyone can come and talk about whatever's happening to them without having to hide their identity.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think society needs to change their mindset and girls should be allowed to make their choices. So my next question
sorry, I don't even agree with the word allow. I don't even think, I mean, girls should make their own choice.
Exactly.
Who will allow them? I don't think we should use it. We do this unconscious bias kind of thing where we use words like this, and I think that's what we need to improve. When we talk about girls, we say, I want to do what I want to do. I don't care about whether anyone allows me to do it or not. I allow myself.
Surely, ma'am. My next question to Shravya ma'am is, how can we help these marginalized women who suffer dysfunctional marriages, and what are the solutions?
Yeah, see, one thing is like, the reason why I started We and She was, see, we live in a country, where even a girl gets molested, she's being blamed. उसको 6 बजे के बाद घर के बाहर जाना क्यों था, छोटे कपड़े पहने हैं उसने. But what about those infant babies who are getting molested in a ventilator or inside the hospital also? So ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. So when I was, I was in this thought process because I was working in this field for more than a decade now. So when I was actually thinking one day, so अगर किसी के साथ बलात्कार होता है, अगर इनके साथ ऐसा है situation हमारे देश में, what about these women who walked out of their marriage? See, there could be anything, be it infidelity like Ekta ma'am mentioned, or it could be impotency also. Suddenly a girl gets married one day, which happens to be an arranged marriage, and after going to her in-laws' place, she realizes that her husband is impotent. What is she supposed to do? Doesn't she have a choice, where she can walk out of her marriage and lead her life? So that's how VNC has actually happened. And even during COVID time also, because it's definitely a big shock for all of us, and none of them were prepared, be it the governments or be it the policy expert or be it the civil society. So I'm doing something like, we have made a group of women of 50 people. So where I call it the Sustainable Mask Project. As of now, during the COVID time, we've been doing. So this is a mask where we try to procure the material from the marginal weavers, and these masks are stitched by the single woman. So sitting at home also, even they stitch like 200, 300 masks also, they're making a sum of 1,500, 2,000 rupees per day, happily sitting at home. Even when it comes to livelihood options also, like Ekta ma'am mentioned, I think we are failing as a society. We need to realize, everybody do that sweet talk with me. Oh, Shravya, you've been doing amazing work. But at the same time, when I ask them, there's this woman who is like properly trained in domestic help. She can be a helping hand for you in the house. No, Shravya, not the divorced woman. Kisi aur ko recommend kar lo, someone else. As a society, if we try to accept them and where we are giving an opportunity to restart their life, I think that is where the change begins. But at the same time, there are few people who try to help, but they are very less. So what we do is like we are trying to provide some sustainable livelihood options in spite of pandemics also, where women can actually survive. It could be, see, tailoring is something which has always been an evergreen profession. There's a lot of demand for tailors, and there are some women who've been getting trained in carpentry work also, because today we are seeing women going to places, they've become astronauts, whatnot. So I think, and one thing which I clearly want to mention, I think being the most sensitive class of the society also, somewhere even we are not coming together. I always believe in something called unity is strength. How many women will not be jealous, if someone is achieving something here, like, we try to spread some negative rumors, you're jealous of someone. See, the moment we try to complement each other's work, and the moment we try to be each other's strength, I think we can be like, you could probably call a superpower, when you find a woman who is actually in trouble, there's an other woman who is in a higher authority, or in where she's in a position to reach out to her. I think we need to reach out to them. And when it comes to the foundation also, yeah, sustainable livelihood is something which I believe in. At the same time, we need to have certain inclusive economic models also. That's how it will actually help women to be, become stronger financially, and that will give her immense confidence also.
Yes, ma'am. I hope people help these women, and we as law students could help them in any way. So, taking this forward, my next question
Rashmi,
is,
sorry to interrupt, but because only 6 minutes are remaining, so I think we should have a recurring meeting. So we should leave this meeting and start it again, so that for the last comments as well as questions for the audience. I hope that is fine with Ekta ma'am and Shravya ma'am, that we are
Yes, yes,
ending
absolutely.
this meeting, and then we will resume.
shall we start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, as Shobha ma'am discussed about how we can help these women, I would like to take it forward by asking Ekta ma'am a question. That recently, NCW's chairperson Rekha Sharma ji said that there has been no new cases of domestic violence. What do you have to say about this?
Yes, I read that. In fact, I was just reading that report. It says that 99% of cases are old cases, and there are barely any new cases. I mean, 1%. So, see, the funny thing about our country and the systems in our country is we do not have anything which is uniform, which is consolidated. Things like that don't exist. There are no solutions, uniform solutions. We have multiple helplines. Every district works in their own manner. NCW, it's sad, but any of our, I won't name the national helplines, but there are multiple national helplines, and everyone has their own manner of dealing with domestic abuse, and so I can't say for sure that this fact may be true. It may even be a political discussion or dialogue, because there's a lot of other things that accompany this fact. I agree that domestic abuse has been existent. But to say that 99% of the cases are true, I will not be able to, I don't have anything to refute that figure, because there are no studies. As a country, we have no budgets, we have no studies, we have no uniform response solutions, no rehabilitation mechanisms, no corporate funding, So literally, gender-based violence is an area, and I use the word gender-based violence because domestic abuse, if you take into consideration young boys getting sexually assaulted within their homes, is also one of the things. And they were, in the first 11 days of the lockdown, there were over 92,000 calls that went to the child helpline. Children are also victim of this domestic abuse. So very funny, we don't have statistics, so I cannot say why she made a statement like that. But I would not, if you ask me, I would not think so, because I have received a lot of cases in which, and so how do you determine if it's a new case or an old case? You may be facing abuse for a while, but if you've not reported it, every reporting is a new reporting. If you've lived with the abuse for say 10 years or 8 years or 7 years or 15 years or 20 years, whatever, and you've not reported that abuse, that reporting itself becomes a new statistic, because this has not been in the system before that. So I will not be able to refute a figure because I have no knowledge on the figures and statistics. But it's very sad that we don't have mechanisms in place to track any of these things. I mean, we are leaders in technology and we have no analytics to be able to track. We have to depend on what someone says, and someone who may or may not have the facts with them.
Yes, ma'am. She also said that people messaged like they have been getting abused, or domestic violence has been happening since 7 years. So that's why it's not a new case.
However, if it's been happening for 7 years and it's not been reported, it is a new case, right? A new case is every case that is logged in that has not been in the system before is a new case. But I have no way to refute those facts because we don't actually have a mechanism to study what's going on. We have, like I said, no analytics. Every district has their own manner in which they deal with abuse. So some will tell you, so a lot of people that we helped during this COVID lockdown reached out to 181, and 181 told them, look, we are short staffed, we are involved in relief work. I'm just giving you a few of the answers they got. Why don't you reach out to your local police station? Then somebody reached out to the local police station. So two constables who were not trained to handle domestic abuse came and told the lady, अरे why are you creating such a ruckus? आप इतना शोर क्यों मचा रहे हैं? आपको इतना झगड़ा नहीं करना चाहिए अपने पति के साथ. And so on and so forth. And these are things we face in big cities, metro cities, and I'm not talking about smaller rural areas. I'm talking about big metro cities where educated people, the best of officers, the best of facilities. Yet we don't have any uniform structures for response or rehabilitation for
Yes.
anyone. In fact, not for men, so there is nothing at all. I mean, for women, if there is still some legal help and counseling and somewhat available, for men there is nothing. For transgender people, there is absolutely nothing.
True. So my next question is to you, Shavya ma'am, that we still live in a society where seeking help of a psychiatrist is a stigma. What do you think?
I think it's high time that we realize mental health is definitely an illness. Depression is definitely an illness. I think entire country was definitely reeling in shock. Whatever has happened, like 2 days before, we have lost one of the youngest talents in the country, and mental health comes into discussion only when someone from the be it film fraternity or from the political, or someone from the politics commit suicide and all. But I think every year many of them are committing suicide. It shouldn't be treated as a stigma anymore. I think people have to come out. If you feel certain amount of uneasiness, or where you feel that something is wrong with you from inside, then definitely you have to talk to your dear ones or reach out for help. And there is nothing wrong. I don't understand what is wrong and with our country. They think that mental health is a very fancy word. It is pretty normal. It is definitely it's definitely a health ailment, just like others. Others, be it heart attacks or be it any lung infection. It's more similar like that. But at the same time, thanks to few people who have come forward, expressing their grief about mental healthness, be it from the Bollywood fraternity or whatever it is. I think we need to stop judging. People in India, what they say is, like, if someone is suffering from depression, or he or she is trying to get some psychiatry help, अरे ये लड़की पागल बन गई है, अरे ये लड़का पागल हो गया क्या? Mental is not literally being mental. They have to understand, so these kind of comments or these kind of negativity surrounded around mental health should stop, so that people will come out more in number. They will open up about their problems. Because of the recent incidents, we have to realize that no money, fame, or success can give you happiness. There's always something inside which is happening with a person. So as a society, I think we also need to keep a constant check on our friends or something. I immediately, because I have a few friends who are suffering from be it their personal life or be it their work life, they're being through a lot of stress. So I just make sure I'm always available for them. I immediately respond to their text also. So maybe if we are trying to be that responsible citizens, at least we are able to take care of our loved ones, then definitely, yeah, to some extent these issues can be addressed, because it's never too late. After someone losing his life, and we talking about this over social media or putting up some statuses, it's not it. We have to deal with the person when he is actually going through the real suffering. So people have to come out of this trance, like, mental health is again, it's something different, and people will think something else if I'm seeking some help from a psychiatrist. It's nothing like that. It's pretty normal. You just go to a gynecologist for some maternity help. It's just like that.
Absolutely, ma'am. Mental health should be like we should normalize this, and we should talk more about mental health. So before concluding
Can
this,
I just add a little bit to what
yes,
Shravya
ma'am.
said?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Yes, very much, Shravya. I completely agree with you on this. See, one of the things I would like to say is Shravya is working in the rural area. She knows that rural women have zero access to mental health. Forget
Yes.
mental health, they don't even have access to physical health issues. That's one of the points. The second point is, we all say, I've seen Facebook and like it's crazy with posts saying, come to my house, my door is open, I will give you a cup of coffee, we can sit and talk, right? And then when someone comes to you, and I'm referring only to domestic abuse right now because we are speaking about domestic abuse, then if you're a neighbor, you tell the victim that listen, people like you should not stay in this neighborhood, because of you so much of drama happens in the community. Then one of the survivors I was helping, she was told that because of you the police has come into our community. The police had never come into our community. This is when she reached out to people for help. These are neighbors who would watch the violence happen in her house every day, the beating happen in her house every day. When she went back to her parents said, beta ab to wohi tumhara ghar hai, ab tum kisi tarah se manage karo, you adjust, you keep your temperament down, don't lose your temper. Why don't you meditate a little bit, थोड़ा गुस्सा कम आएगा तुमको, इरिटेशन कम होगा. This is what they've been told. And then some parents will say, acha, it's okay, once you have a child everything will be okay. In an abusive marriage, if you have a child, the child will also get abused. How will it be okay? And then you say, why don't you please your in-laws? Pleasing your in-laws will be good for you. If you please your in-laws, they will start loving you. Please your husband, make sure he is very happy with you. So when someone reaches out for help, these are the kind of answers that they get when they reach out for help. So how do you expect people to reach out for help when there is so much stigma? Forget going to a psychiatrist or going to a psychologist. There is so much stigma that is involved in talking about the issue itself. And I think that is one of the things that we need to, as a younger generation, and the reason I'm sharing this is I would hope that you people as younger folks and younger kids stop this kind of stigmatization. If someone comes and tells you they are facing domestic abuse, please take them at face value, listen to them. You may agree, you may not agree, or believe a lot of things. It does not matter. You are not the judge of them, you are not the person to tell them, but at least give them a listening ear. Bring them to a professional. A professional will be able to guide them to someone like Shravya or someone like me. We can talk and understand whether the case is true, and a lot of times even we can't make out if it's a true case or a false case, and those are very, very minor considerations. Thinking that this person may be in a violent situation, may not be safe, may be killed tomorrow, anything could happen to a domestic violence victim. Yet when the victim reaches out only for help with domestic violence itself, we give her so much gyan, or we give him. For men are told, अरे तू कैसा आदमी है, तू एक औरत को भी नहीं संभाल सकता, तेरी मर्दानगी का क्या हुआ. They suddenly start challenging the manliness of a man. They say, अरे what is this, you're going around crying about your wife, what a shame, दो हाथ लगाने का ना उसको. So when men also share and men also get abused abused, and when they share, this is the kind of reactions they are met with. So I think this is what we need to stop. It is for us to stop when someone comes, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, irrespective of whatever gender. Let us at least listen to that person, give them a hearing ear, and then send them to a professional. If you're not convinced, send them to a professional. The professional will handle, guide them, share links, share resources. YouTube hai, Google hai, just help them out. You don't have to be actively involved to report to the police, because the first thing that people think is, "Arey, main phas jaunga yaar police mein. How do I, get myself out of this situation?" No, you can send them to. There are so many NGOs helping, so many professionals. Send them. You don't need to get involved directly, but give them a listening ear if they come with a problem. The problem is first. The psychiatrist is the next level, or the psychologist is the next level. The first level is the problem. Sorry,
Exactly,
slightly
ma'am. We should
long
start
answer.
listening more. So before concluding this insightful session, does anybody want to ask any question?
Yes, I have a question. My name is Sara Muneem. I'm part of the team at Her World. Ekta ma'am, Shravya ma'am. I mean, it'd be good if both of you could answer. But um, both of you have mentioned that after that, if the abuse is it becomes a new statistic even if the abuse has been happening for a long time when it is first reported. So what do you think about do you first of all do you think that a marriage where a loveless marriage for example is abusive in nature, if there is indifference between the partners, or neglect and largely ignorance, apart from their day-to-day lives they don't interact, the minimal interaction, and no so emotional connection and little social contact, do you think that qualifies as abuse?
Okay, so Shravya, can I take that question? Is
Yes,
that okay
yes.
with you? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, abuse follows a certain pattern. There are a lot of checklists or quizzes online which you can actually do to see. First of all, physical violence doesn't need any indicators. Physical violence means that there is hitting, beating, slapping, pinching, whatever. It could also mean that there is forced sex, right? Now, when we talk about emotional or psychological violence, there are many resources available online. In fact, if you go to the Invisible Scars website, we have an emotional abuse checklist. It's a set of 20 statements that can tell you if you're in an emotionally abusive relationship or not. Sometimes emotional neglect is also emotional abuse, but we don't know till we see the whole picture together. So, if there's anybody who has a doubt about what they are facing, I can share the list after. I can share it with Jem after we are done with this webinar, and she can share it with all of you. Just go and see. If you say yes to any 5 statements, then it means that you are in an abusive marriage. Now, every abusive marriage does not need intervention from legal authorities. You can have intervention from the counselor, because maybe the person abusing you does not know that they are abusive in nature. Maybe they don't know how it's impacting you. So the first thing is to understand if you are being abused. The second step is to meet a mental health professional, most likely a psychologist. A psychologist will help you both, and meet someone who's in the space of domestic abuse, not like a general psychologist who does a marriage counseling. Please meet someone who specifically handles domestic abuse. That person will be able to understand and guide you in the right manner. And if there is a chance that both of you can work it out together, it is an excellent opportunity, because sometimes the abuser does not know that this behavior of mine. So, for example, if I have anger issues, the person might not know. In a few cases, the abuser was detected with a bipolar disorder or depression or things like that, due to which that abusive behavior was happening. In a couple of cases, what happened is their childhood was very abusive, hence they became abusive and they didn't realize it. They actually love their partners. So not everything is abuse. That's the first thing. If it is abuse, what level of abuse is it? If it is intolerable, yes, legal options are there and available. You are all legal students, you will know of the options. If it is not, however, what should you do? And you should, and let me take us 2 steps back, right to the time, all of you are at a young impressionable age. All of you have relationships right now, and maybe not all of you, but a large number of you will have relationships, which will culminate into marriages. You're there with your partner and you're going around, and this is the best time of your life because you're in college, everything seems rosy. And how many of you have actually done a compatibility test with your girlfriend or boyfriend? So premarital counseling, because India as a society, we believe that the family structure should be very, very strong. And because of this belief, it is so important that young generation starts to pay attention. So if you are with someone, say for 2 years or 3 years or whatever your course duration is, and you've been seeing that person in an offline space, you don't know how that person behaves at home, or even if you do, you don't know what their value systems or their ethics are. If there is a disagreement of value systems in two people also, that can result in a very bad marriage or an abusive marriage. And so how many of you have actually gone and done this compatibility test? There are so many couple compatibility tests. How many of you have recognized red flags in your relationship? If you are in a relationship right now where you're not married, it is better and easier to recognize those signs right now and work on them, or leave the person you are with, rather than get married and get into a more complicated situation. So I think it's not an easy journey. It's not easy to accept also that this is what you might be facing, but it is necessary that youngsters start to implement, because the minute young minds start to think in a certain way, a generation starts to think differently. And probably that is what I will advise. And for a specific case, I will share the link. Please ask whoever it is to go on the link, and they can check if there is abuse in the relationship. If there is, a counseling would be the first suggested method for a couple like this.
Is there any other?
Yeah,
Thank
Yes,
you
I
so
have a
ma'am.
much.
question.
I have a
I have a
question, ma'am.
question.
Do we have another question?
Yes, ma'am. I
Yeah, I
have
have
a
a
question.
question.
So I think first Vinay will ask.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, I would like to say that I feel very fortunate that I'm part of this session, and I am listening to great people like Shreya ma'am and Ekta ma'am. Ma'am, my question is that if a husband is supporting her wife, like in her education, in her work, and not shouting at her and supporting in every field in her life, and the relatives, the neighbors, the parents call him like Joru ka gulam. So what should a man can do, and how can he handle this situation?
So who is that question for, Vinay?
I think we both can answer. Ma'am, you please go ahead. I'll also answer.
Ma'am, I think Ekta ma'am can answer in a better way.
जोरू का गुलाम stereotypes बोलते हैं. There is something called stereotypes, and Indian stereotypes are very, very massive in number, ranging from whether a person is ganja to whether a person has a small neck or a small forehead, or whether that person is a fair Brahmin or a dark Brahmin, or a fair scheduled caste or a dark scheduled caste. There are stereotypes ranging from from one end to the other, based on physical appearance, caste, community, orientation, everything, every single thing. And Joru ka Gulam is one such stereotype. By supporting a spouse, whether it is a wife, if a wife supports a husband, does she become pati ki gulam? There is no stereotype as pati ki gulam. Why is that not existing, right? The reason is because Joru ka Gulam is used to make fun. There was a movie also, Joru ka Gulam. Govinda did that movie. Of course, he's a very weird actor, but anyway. So he did this movie, and it was essentially to make fun. So all of these things are used to make fun of men, and I think that is what defines your character. In Indian society, your character is not determined by how many people you sleep with or how many affairs you have. Your character is determined by how you behave with other people, how you present to other people, or how you are behind their back. That is what character is. Character is not about इतने लोगों के साथ इसका अफेयर चला, उतने लोगों के साथ वो घूमने गया या घूमने गई, or whatever. जोरू का गुलाम is something which we have to stop. If someone calls you जोरू का गुलाम, your first response should be कि हाँ मैं हूँ जोरू का गुलाम. Because the minute you own it and accept it is only the minute you can tackle it. हाँ मैं हूँ जोरू का गुलाम. आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम है, आपकी जोरू का नहीं हो ना. Simple. So these are things that you have to refute very, very rudely, because these are stereotypes, and you should not let it get to you. Unfortunately, 10, 20, 50 people might say to you, and you have to understand that it's forgivable for them because they don't know better. And because they don't know better, this is why we are using language and terminology like this. So please don't hesitate in saying हाँ मैं हूँ जोरू का गुलाम, मेरी पति भी पति की गुलाम है. You may use a counter like this, and we are compatible, we are happy together. I don't see why you have a problem. So that's my answer to this. Shravya, over to you.
Thank you very much.
I think it's all in the head, ma'am, because end of the day, it's the human behavior, which decides these kind of things. Because we have women, who studied in prostitution dens, but they have their PhDs and doctorates also. But at the same time, we have good people living in our society, but they are into drugs and whatnot. So I think it's all in the head, just like ma'am said. If someone is taunting you, like, you're Zoru ka gulam ho, tum ye ho wo, and just say it like, yes, I am. I mean, what bothers you? It's okay. So I think we should instantly give it back to them. Otherwise, they try to ruin even other people who are having a happy marriage also.
Right.
The more bold, the more braver we are, I think these kind of attitudes will change.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank
Ma'am,
you.
I have a question.
Thank you, Ekta ma'am and Shravya ma'am, for answering it. Now, is there anyone who wants to ask questions?
Yeah.
I think Priya.
Yeah. I have a question.
Any question? But try to shorten your questions, because we are running out of time of this session also. So, I think, who is the next question?
Yeah, I have a question. Hello.
We can hear you.
Yes, you are. Who is there? Actually, can you tell your name, please? Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, it's me Nilim from Assam. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, actually, if a woman from the Tea Garden Adivasi community, she marries a man from a different caste. Okay, she leaves her family, everything, and when she comes to that man's family, when both of them get married together, it happens that in the village of that girl, the girl who belongs from the Adivasi community, what is called in there is a social ritual which is that is being done, like उनका श्राद्ध मतलब conduct कर देता है. Like the Adivasi people, they accept that she has died when that girl gets married to the upper caste. Okay, that marriage is the Adivasi people don't recognize the marriage. In fact, they think that she is dead. Okay, but after coming to that man's life, that man commit domestic violence on her, and that man, if he is a civil servant in a state, he is a civil servant. He has left all her family way back, and in the meantime, that man commits domestic violence on her. The man who used to give lecture sessions on gender sensitivity, women empowerment, and gender equality, but he commits domestic violence on his wife at home. So how should that woman deal that thing?
Nilim, please
Deepashree,
ask
does
her
it,
to reach out to us. I'm happy to help. Domestic violence deserves no mercy. If she
yeah.
cannot report and if she doesn't have the confidence, please ask her to reach out to us. I'll be more than happy to help her. Doesn't matter. Nobody is above the law.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to ask Ekta ma'am to give last comments and some message to us, and then Shravya ma'am, if you can give last comments.
So thank you all for having me. I'm always very happy to do a session with youngsters because it's easier to mold people who are young than to mold the elder set of people. They already have very difficult, they've been through a lot of difficulties and very ingrained ideas and a lot of conditioning that needs to be fought. So thank you very much. What I would like to say to this group of people is that tomorrow you are going to be the faces of the future. So it is important that you start looking at your lives before you try to help anyone else. All of you are going to be legal professionals. You're going to be helping people across in distress. It could be related to any issue. But you have to see that your lives are in order. So whatever you are taking away from this session today, one of the most important takeaways is, if I am in trouble in a relationship, what do I need to do? Do I need to recognize the signs, especially for youngsters who are in relationships right now? Please go and check on red flags of relationships. See if any of those red flags exist. If there's anything about a relationship which you're not comfortable and you're not feeling, then please do. I mean, not every relationship will be bad, but please do look at it. Don't give up your, there is always this discussion about whether one's honor is more important or one's marriage is more important or relationship is more important. But let me tell you, without any pride and honor in a relationship, neither will your partner, and I'm using gender neutral words. So this is not about girls or boys. This is about your partner will not give you that kind of respect. So if anyone is feeling uncomfortable, I would tell the whole team here, please first look at your lives, see what changes you can bring to your lives, learn, read, educate others. Don't allow old behaviors. Try to break the cycle. Don't allow old behaviors to perpetrate. Make sure that you are breaking the cycle with everything you're doing. And I think, Vinay, the first thing I would say is that Joru Ka Gulam is that one thing that you should break for sure. I mean, whoever is facing it, you should inspire them to break that stereotype. I think those are the little steps. When you take charge of your life, when you help those around you, when you educate yourself, you are all going to be very responsible and very good citizens. And we look forward to a lot from all of you. So that's my message to the group today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We will surely take this message ahead. Last comments from Shravya, ma'am.
So firstly, I would like to compliment Honor of Women as well as Her World for organizing this beautiful discussion, which was actually need of the hour. And, many of us are having a very privileged, since we come from privileged backgrounds, we are having a safe lockdown in homes, but there are many women, who are badly in need of help. So try to reach out to your women, be it your neighborhood or be it your friends or whoever it is. And just in case, see, the message is very, very loud and clear. Just in case, if you have been a victim of domestic violence or you see someone who have been a victim of domestic violence, kindly report. That is something which you can do, because I think it's time to put a lockdown on domestic violence. And I think as responsible citizens of this country, we need to try to be the best version of ourselves, so that, a lot of development and progress can happen in every aspect, not just in terms of economy or, finance structure, but at the same time, when it comes to ethics and moral values also. Thank you so much for being super patient and listening to me, as well as Ekta ma'am also. Ekta ma'am, it was a pleasure sharing the space with you. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shravya. Same here. It's so nice to see youngsters coming up in such a good way, and the kind of work you people are doing. You're all the future, and yeah, again, thank you for the space. Anyone who needs to reach out to me, Jayam has my contact details. I'll share my website also with her. Please feel free to reach out. Even if you're not married and you're in trouble, please reach out.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, we will convey this message to others also. And first, we will try to bring change within ourselves, and we will try to use a different terminology, not like the allowed and as you pointed out. So thank you so much. And we will definitely, I think all those who have their partners, so they will take a competency test, compatibility test. And also we need to start listening to other people, empathizing with them, so that so that they will also start sharing with us. So I think we will take this message forward, and also to ourselves at our home we will begin this from ourselves. So thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. We are extremely grateful to you, and so thank you, ma'am, and thanks to the audience for listening this webinar so patiently, so coolly. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye, Shravya. I look forward to connecting with you separately.
Same here, ma'am. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you.